We telling you guys right now, if you a nice guy, don't finish last. And matter of fact, you shouldn't be last, and you shouldn't be finishing. You should be starting.
Exactly.
Welcome everybody to the Rally Cry podcast. My name is Angel.
My name is Tyler.
And you guys are here because you see bad guys, good guys. We should talk about it a little bit. And it's just like, we always hear a couple terms from it. But before we get into the video, we just want to give a couple shout outs. So I want to shout outs to Mr. Ross, for letting us borrow his camera because, my camera was acting up. So I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Ross. Mr. Ross, if you're listening to this, I love you.
Mr. Ross. Arigato gozaimasu.
And I know you want to shout outs to somebody.
I got two people to shout out. Gotta shout these people out. Tamar, went to school with her, middle school, high school. Shout out a great topic that we did on our live recently.
If you guys didn't check it out, go check it out. It's on YouTube and it's also on bonus on whatever podcast platform that you're listening to.
Yes, on Facebook, TikTok, all that other good stuff. We won't say the title. We want you to go find that so you can figure out the title for yourself.
Easter egg.
But and also shout out Cito Blanco, an amazing poet we met in New York.
Yes.
A great man. He has a lot of good stuff that I think people could really get in touch with, and also be vulnerable with themselves, and especially with a lot of black men in this world. A lot of black men have a hard time being vulnerable, and along with the stigma that is instilled within the society of how men should be.
Absolutely.
So, I wanted to shout those people out. Love you guys. Hope y'all doing great.
It.
And just, if you want, check those guys out. Cito Blanco on IG. Tamar, check her out on our IG as well. She's in the comments, as you guys all are. Just wanted to shout everybody out.
And with that being said, whatever platform that you guys are on, if it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Cast, we're also on iHeartRadio now. So let's go,
I got this icebox where my heart used to be. I got this icebox where my heart used to be. I don't even know that song. I'm so cold. Wait, what?
What song is that?
Wait, I was just saying the name of the song, Icebox, by Omarion.
Oh, Omarion. I don't really listen to him like that. It's all good.
That was in our I question your childhood.
But if you guys also want, you can watch us on YouTube, and make sure you guys follow and like the videos, give us recommendations and then suggestions, anything like that. And then, it lets us know that we're doing something right. Hey, our last two episodes has 96 views. We got 125 on YouTube, which is absolutely great. And so I'm thinking can we get at least...
Yeah, you know what? What's up with that?
Yeah.
Both videos having 96 views. What's up with that?
We have 125, by the way. Can we get 130 on YouTube? Come on now.
130 subscribers. I mean, look, and doesn't a 3-digit number look better than 2? I mean, hey, it takes 2 to tango. But if this is a community, we're going to need all that we can get.
Hey, I think we're trying to bring everybody together and, talk about the things we should be aware of, because we do talk about self-improvement. We talk about wealth as much as we can. It's better to have people come on the show talking about wealth because we are learning ourselves. And we also talk about building relationships. So let's build this relationship together and learn about the things about wellness. So let's actually start getting into the video. And it's kind of like a fun thing because we always hear the things of, nice guys always finish last. But then we also know that a lot of women get attracted to the bad guys.
Bad boys.
The bad boys. Like the movie, Bad Boys 1, 2, 3.
Bad boys.
Yeah,
what you gonna do?
I mean, think about it. You see how viral that movie went? What if the movie was called Good Boys?
Okay.
How would that go?
Good boys. Good boys sound extremely
It's
unsettling.
man, good boys. I like the, their life is in danger. Oh, you bad. Oh, yeah, you did that with risk.
When you say good boys, it makes me think of off-brand mayo.
Great Value?
Yeah, Great Value. If it's not Hellman's mayo, then I don't know what it is. In my opinion, Hellman's.
Hummins. I thought you said hummus. I'm like, hummus.
No, hummus is good, but no, Hellman's mayo. They discontinued it.
Did they?
Yeah, just like how they discontinued Good Boys. Now, anyways.
Yo, for real. I think it's just why do nice guys finish last? And what are they finishing last with? Because if you're telling me that the nice guys finish last after the bad guys started first, so that means the nice guys have to deal with the bad stuff,
Pick up all the pieces.
Pick up the pieces, all that. So you're telling me that you was puzzled and you went with this bad guy, and now you're unpuzzled, and so you go to the nice guy to get fixed up? That's not fair, though.
Like, and you know where it comes from, too? Like, you got to think about, okay, like, here's the thing. Now, a lot of guys, we could all agree, we don't really care for the documentaries or any of the murder shows or anything like that. Unless, like, you know, that's your career and you're doing that, cool. But women heavily love documentary shows. They love the shows that include death, that are extremely, like, you know what, I want to see something that's relaxing. Yeah, let's see a documentary about a guy killing 100 people. Like, what do you mean that's relaxing? So, to my point, a lot of women like, you know, the excitement, the anxiety-inducing thrills that come with dating a bad boy, because it's like, damn, why is he like this? Like, can I fix him? Like, is he gonna treat me right? And just that lack of uncertainty is slightly thrilling. And because even with actually, it's a study that's proven when there's a 50% chance that women will most likely date a narcissistic bad boy who is going to have traits and tendencies of someone who isn't likely to want to date, but it's because they're so well at developing this persona. Like, if you guys watch Netflix, Joe from You.
Yep. I was thinking that.
He picks up on these traits and, like, okay, I know this about this person. You know what? If I talk about this, I'll get their attention. I'll do all this and that. And look at how many people he got away with killing. And it's the idea of, like, okay, he pretended to be this person, and none of these people could pinpoint, like, who he is. Like, his actions, his body language, nothing. So, Bad Boys...
Right. Yeah, it was like how we were talking earlier, how, like, basically narcissistic people try to show that they're competent, but they're not competent. In the example of You, he tries to show this persona that he's just a regular guy, but he obviously has, like, psychological issues that's going on in his brain. And I think that also draws into the fact that when it comes to first impressions, and I think, to the women that are out there, we have to be mindful, and even men, we got to be mindful, like, first impressions, yes, they mean something, but if we could actually be aware, like, there's certain tendencies that might strike out to show who they really are. And so when it happens to first impressions and they're first meeting somebody, is that when we meet someone, we try to show our most attractive side. So, like, let me show my smart side. Let me show my poetic side, because it shows a certain tendency. And there's a thing called the halo effect, which means when someone has a certain trait that they show, and then that person automatically thinks to what they show, there's more adding on to that. So if I show that I like dogs, right, and I have a dog, right, and I'm walking my dog, they think that I'm loving and caring just because of me being a pet owner. And that's called the halo effect. Okay. Think about it. Beyonce talked about it. Can you be my halo? I forgot the song. Halo. That's the only part I know. That's such an old song, but you get my point. Yeah. And so, like, we gotta be mindful of the people that we come across, and, like, not go too far into thinking that they're this person. And so I think when it comes to, like, bad guys, it just seems to be that they're more hyper masculine, right? Think about, like, if we're talking about Twilight, vampires, werewolves, and, people that are in the army and stuff like that, it shows that they're taking so many risks, and they're ambitious, and they're taking lead for things, and, like, they basically have all this freedom. And with all this freedom, it's so attractive. Like, oh my God, he really knows how to take his ground.
It's attractively liberating.
Yes.
It's liberation, because when you're fighting for freedom, or not necessarily fighting for freedom, but when somebody exudes this demeanor of freedom, they do whatever they want, they create their boundaries, like, they are in control, and they decide what goes. Like, that type of confidence goes to show, like, when somebody has leadership traits and doesn't care about the moral high road or whatever is a societal standard, then that's more appealing. It's attractive. Like, okay, so he's trying to embark on his own path. He doesn't want to stick within the group of shadows. Basically. But and ideally, though, he is a shadow that just so happens to be able to get away with being out at night. Because you need the sun to be out at night. Yeah. But this shadow does good at both.
And talking about shadow, darkness. According to Marissa T. Cohen, in the most extreme and negative interpretation, bad guys display qualities of the so-called psychological dark triad. And so, like, she's a relationship counselor, and she's also a coach. And basically, it's just to say, like, you know, they have this like side that looks so aggressive and dominant, and that is one of the things that attract a woman. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just like, why do you think that someone that looks bad and then have these qualities of being a bad guy, like, you think that could be a long-term sustainable relationship? And we're being realistic here, not metaphorically anymore about vampires and werewolves. We're talking about, like, why do most women think that is attractive when a guy is doing things in his life that could be detrimental to himself? Like, okay, it could be attractive by himself, but is it attractive that you're in that picture now? Can you deal with that stuff? Because I'm pretty sure, like, if we want to be straightforward to, like, let's say for drug dealers and, you know, people that are in the streets and stuff like that, you know, like, that's not really something you really want to be involved in. Like, you don't want to always, like, look over your shoulder and be kind of scared, especially if you're a woman. And even if you're a guy, I don't want to be always scared. And hey, there's people that live that lifestyle, so be it. Let them do it. And there's people that can do that. I know I wouldn't want to, and I know there's a lot of women out there that really wouldn't want to deal with that. I just think it's just they just want to switch off and on from it. Like, oh yeah, I want you to be bad, but not all the time. Just sometimes.
And this the idea is, like, and at least what compensates for them is for women, what compensates for them is obviously the attention and what did attract them. As long as that's fulfilling enough and that doesn't change, that is okay. But with what I recently learned, like, the word dating isn't in the Bible, right? So
Isn't?
It isn't in the Bible. So we're technically training ourselves we're building and accustomed to be ready to leave a relationship at, like, almost all the time. Because when it comes to dating, like, we're training ourselves, like, yeah, like, oh, I like this person, da da da. But then the first thing that nowadays what people do when things get tight and it gets tough and challenging, they want to leave.
That's so unfortunate. Like, I think why do we think that, you know, when things get tough that we should just leave? Like, it's not about finding a perfect relationship. It's about finding a working relationship. And I think that builds a valid point. Like, you know, nice guys do finish last, but we telling you guys right now, if you're a nice guy, don't finish last. And matter of fact, you shouldn't be last, and you shouldn't be finishing. You should be starting.
Exactly. And the thing is, too, like, when it comes to this whole aspect of nice guys finishing last, you got to think about how well are you setting your boundaries? What are you justifying? What are you accepting? What are you tolerating?
Right.
Because if you're tolerating things that aren't okay, like, let's say, for example, like, you know, you like this girl and you've expressed that, but you wasn't direct about it. Like, you were trying to give her hints. You wanted her to read in between the lines. But then guess what? She doesn't get any cues, and you're still in the friend zone. But here you are being like, oh, I'm single because a lot of women don't want good guys. That's not the case. If anything,
they want good guys.
They want good guys, but they just haven't met enough to even know what is a good guy. Because there are so many shadows that are pretending to be this ray of light that is going to bring them prosperity and guide them to the promised land. But how are you going to get to the promised land with somebody that isn't even working towards anything?
And you don't even know, like, some guys can't even keep promises. So it's just like, you know, if he's portraying himself to be a good guy, you don't know if he's a bad guy undercover. Or if he's portraying himself to be a good guy, you don't know if he's a bad guy undercover. So at the end of the day, it's a lose-lose, so you might want to figure it out if you want the good guy to finish last or the bad guy to finish last. Matter of fact, you shouldn't have a bad guy finish anything, because at the end of the day, that means he finished you off, and that's not good. And we're talking about both sides. We don't want to have, you know, we never talk about, you know, nice girls, nice women, and nice or bad women.
Or nice women finish last or nice women finish first, and it's like...
You know what? Actually, I don't think it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, if you bad, you can...
And we shouldn't be totalizing it either, because it's like you see it for what it is, and yes, there are bad guys that could portray themselves as good guys, but body language, certain narcissism, and then a lot of statements that with our words, they speak a lot. You have to read in between the lines, and you don't want to be so literal in certain moments. You want to be able to, like, okay, give yourself time to be open and receptive of, like, okay, this is what's being portrayed in front of me. But also, you want to, like, for bad guys, right? They have to be ahead of the game. Cause
the bad guys?
Yeah, the bad guys.
More of the time they are. That's why, if anything, they start first.
No, exactly. They start first because it has to be ahead of the game, right? So it's this idea, because they're portraying this, they are already thinking steps ahead, like in chess. That's the thing, steps ahead.
They set themselves up for success to what they want.
But also at the same time, though, you have to think about the duality within multitasking between thinking the steps ahead in advance and trying to predict that this is how it's going to go for you because this is how it should go for you because they're that narcissistic, or they're going to be that adaptive because they've already premeditated that many scenarios in their mind that they could already react or already make a slight change in their decision making in that moment after something that wasn't according to plan goes through, and it's like, okay, you know what, that's cool, I'm going to do this instead.
Yeah, and I think too, like, when we say bad guys, it's not to say like all of them are narcissistic. It's just like, you know, when we say bad guys, it's kind of like the guys that have bad intentions towards the women that they're attracting. And so it's like, well, you know, you're a bad guy, technically speaking, if, you know, you're just trying to perceive as, like, you're looking for a relationship and you're not straightforward and you're not asking the woman, like, oh, what are you looking for? And you're just kind of going with the wind and then you kind of lead them on. Then that's what makes you a bad guy, you know what I mean? But then that's what makes the woman want you more because you're basically saying, like, oh, yeah, you know, I tease you with a couple of things. You basically be toxic if you do, you know, you take them out to eat, you do all these things, these relationships kind of cues, and it makes them think, oh, I think he likes me or anything like that. And then at the end of the day, he just wanted one thing, and then it's kind of like a one night stand kind of deal. Yeah. And then she's like, wait, I don't get it. Like, what's going on? Why would you lead me on like that? And it was, well, that's what makes them the bad guy. And then you still want him because of the fact that you can't get it. It's almost the same thing. Like, how bad do we want something when we can't get it? And it makes us want it more. It's like, you know, it's hard to get $1 million. Let's say it's like, oh, I even want it even more. So I'm going to work harder in order to get that kind of goal, even though that's not realistic. But it's still the sense, like, when you can't get something, that's what makes you eager of wanting it more. And so that's kind of just a psychological term. And I think it's like, well, you got to kind of face your urges, because if this person is treating you bad, or if this person was leading you on and they didn't give you that form of communication, then it's just like, you know, just cut them off. Yeah.
And I agree with that because, like, according to AskMen.com, so they were saying, like, why do nice guys finish last? And when it comes to the context of dating or at work, the reason why is because a lot of nice guys, a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them have a hard time setting boundaries. And with not being able to set boundaries and being stern comes with a lack of self-esteem, lack of confidence, but also, you know, when it comes to that means that there's a high likelihood that they'll justify a lot of things because of their lack of options. Which goes back to me saying that if a guy says that, oh, I'm a good guy, women don't, a lot of women don't want a good guy nowadays. But that's not really the case. It's like they do want a good guy, but it's like there has to be some kind of mix where, at least to some extent, they're entertained because women like drama. They like gossip. Now, I'm not saying it in a way where, okay, just promote negativity, promote pessimism. I'm not saying that. But at least there has to be some form of excitement. And if there's no, like, sudden thrill of rush, or let's say, you know, you surprise them with something, or let's say, like, let's say, you know, you purposely, like, you know, hint and tease at them, like, about something, and they keep on asking, like, what is it, and you're like, I don't know, you tell me, what is it? Like, but then you're the one that brought it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You kind of have to keep them on their toes so that they have this form of excitement, honestly. And, like, you can take off this drama, like, arguments or anything like that in a relationship, so that it can make it in a more exciting way. Because if it's talking about women liking drama and, like, in a good cause, is, well, you can, in realistic terms, you can, like, have it for, like you said, surprising them, or, you know, doing certain things that keep them on their toes. When you bring something up and they're, like, asking you a question, you're like, wait, what are you talking about? But you're the one that brought it up. It's keeping them on their toes.
Right.
So I think you made a valid point.
And it's also, like, the thing is about, almost said yes men, but nice guys.
Yeah.
Because to an extent,
they are yes men.
And
agreeable people.
Exactly. And it's because of that, their attempts in trying to gain validation from others is where their downfall comes from. Because think about how, like, we shouldn't have to be desperate or be so persevering to making sure that we get validation from others, because our validation comes within ourselves. That comes first overall.
Yeah, it's separate.
And who you are as a person is where you get the validation from, not by pretending to be something that you're not, or not by or not by trying to stage or create a facade where this will get people to accept me.
Right.
But it's still staging something. You're not being yourself, because you have to get into this act. You have to get into this improv stature where you're going to get into character, you're going to get in scene, all right, lights are on, lights, camera, action, like right now, pause, and and you know, like all of that, and then when the show's over, and tickets are thrown out, everybody's going home and everything like that. Now you got to reflect. You got to game plan again about how you're going to do that again tomorrow.
That's a valid point. I think that's also too, like, you know, a lot of times you see it on social media all the time, and you know they give off this persona that this is who they are. Like, let's say if you keep flashing your money, then you're gonna attract people that, you know, value that and only that. So think about it, like, you know, if you didn't have that, are they respecting you to who you are or because of what they value? And like, you know, we might think, you know, value should always be good. Oh, I do value money and stuff like that. But it's just like, to a degree, like, for example, like if you're going to be shaking your booty and you're going to be doing stuff like that, you're going to be attracting the people that only value that. And so, like, you're going to then wonder, well, that's not really what you really want. You might want someone that can be vulnerable with you, someone that can talk. So, like, if anything, if you want to attract people that can actually have a conversation with you, you might want to do certain things that shows that you can build a conversation. Like, if you could be a good person that is on social media, let's say, because a lot of times we use social media, and you always, like, deliver conversations that can start up, and you have people that come and actually have conversation with you. Now you're attracting people that can have that conversation. So now you can actually build into a relationship that you're actually looking for, because these are the actual things you value. If it's, for example, right, if you go to the club, you're not really likely to find your significant other in a club. But let's say if you go to a wedding, right, and you meet a woman there, or if it's the other way around, you're more likely to think that this could be your potential mate. But if you go to a club, not so much, right? So it's also about the environment that you're in and how you're setting yourself up to be in that environment. And I think a lot of times we always build ourselves to be in these habits to always smoke, drink, and have fun, and there's nothing wrong with that, but what are we really celebrating for? And if you're trying to find your significant other, I don't think that's an appropriate way of doing so.
Yeah, because after a certain point, like, it's prioritized a lot on social media. Like, you want to turn up, you want to have fun, want to smoke, you want to drink, and you just want to, like, live it up and then do all this and flaunt your money and be like, yeah, I got money to blow. I got money to throw away. So, like, I got money to blow, getting it in. Shout out old Drake. But overall, it's like, we're doing that, and it doesn't really amount to anything. And when it comes to wanting to get married, like, they say that, like, you know, we should, like, for anybody's experience and what a body count may pertain to, they say realistically that we mainly try at least a good 5 times when it comes to trying to be in a serious relationship. So if that means 5 times in our life, on average, that we try to get into a serious relationship, everybody else that we engage with, encounter, have sex with, and everything, doesn't really matter. It's just because we're giving it to greed. We're giving it to lust. So if we actually prioritize, all right, 20 to 30s, your young 20s to your 30s, should kind of prioritize, like, who you're going to be dating. You know, if you want to have a family, you want to create a dynasty and all these other things that come out of it, especially with what our purpose is in life, which is to procreate, continue on life, pass on legacies, make things easier for the next generation, and all these things that come from our innovations. Why are we still doing things that don't amount to what they used to? Like, you know, when we're younger, we're exposed to things that we shouldn't be exposed to. So we end up doing these things irrationally and because we're immature, lacking the experience. And then we learn from these experiences. But just because we know better, why do we still do it? Why do we still drink and go to the club and spend $15 on a drink that doesn't even have more than one shot, when you could buy a whole bottle yourself and give yourself as many shots as you want? Make your own concoction.
I think it's too, like, at least when it comes to us men, there's a majority that think that, you know, if I'm able to spend money, it shows to the women that I got money.
I got it like that.
Right, yeah. So it's just like, when you spend money, it don't mean that you got money. It mean you had money. You had money because now you spent it. So it's like, it doesn't show that you got money. And at the end of the day, you know, to the guys, to the fellas, if don't really spend your money. Like, it's like, okay, to a degree, it's like, all right, it's good to cater to a particular woman if you're really trying to, like, you know, be serious with her to the extent, but, like, don't be spending money on most of these women, because, like, if you go to the club, that's the least place you want to spend money, because they're just gonna use you. If you really go around and ask women, like, why do you go to the club or the bar, and
free drinks.
Exactly. They get free drinks. And guess what? There's guys out there that's making it hard for the real good guys. You know, the real good guys, not the ones that finish last. I'm talking about
Not
the ones
the shadows.
not the shadows. I'm talking about the ones that start and they don't finish because they're going to still want to be desired by other women.
They're the first ones in the gym and the last ones to leave. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, I'm just saying, like, don't be spending money because at the end of the day, you're just going to get played. A lot of women know how to play men. And it's unfortunate, but it's just like, hey, you know, that's just part of the game. And hey, if they're gonna be doing that or whatever they gotta do to get free drinks, so be it. So be it. But hey, we're just trying to let you guys know that you shouldn't be spending money on women unless you're trying to actually like take them a little bit serious, at least to a degree. But don't be going to the club and spending money and be like, hey, let me buy you a drink and think that you're gonna get something at the end of the night because you're not. She just got a free drink from you, and that actually adds up on the tab. And there's so much more that you're setting up for failure in that sense.
And it's a good thing that Angel brings that up because as he was saying, like, you know, don't do that because there are a lot of women that can play a lot of men. This was also about, like, you know, for the men that can play a lot of women and how women, unfortunately, can't discern from, like, what are these narcissistic traits, at least from a young age, and depending on how what they're familiar with, because a lot of it comes from the lack of exposure, lack of experience, and simply because these guys had enough experiences or was taught by people well enough, unfortunately, in a bad way that, you know what, this is how you can pretend to be somebody that you're not. This is how you can do this and get what you want out of somebody.
Exactly.
So just like how women could play men, men could play women. But we got to think about
how we do it in different ways, though.
Yeah, we do it in different ways, and it's not for nothing. It's not okay. But that's why somehow, some way, this quote that I heard, there has to be like a necessary evil. Like, to an extent, like, it sounds like its own justification. Like, yeah, I have to do this because, like, this needs to happen. Like how Thanos, let me get rid of half of the population. There has to be a necessary evil to an extent. Now, yes, he was that necessary evil in the Marvel series, right? But he did that because with how overpopulated the Earth is, think about how many more resources, how the Earth sustains itself and gets back to being healthier because there's not so many people on Earth. So there has to be some kind of necessary evil within men and women in order to create this balance, but then also keep everybody on their toes. Exactly. So that way we know how to differentiate between good people and bad people.
Right. Yeah, and honestly, just to conclude, it's just to say, you know, good guys don't finish last. The real good guys know how to have boundaries, like Tyler said, and know how to prioritize their time. And, you know, focus on themselves to better themselves so that they can find a significant other that actually benefits them well. And that goes even for the other way around. Like, it's good girls, you know, they start first too. And it's just like, you want a good guy, you want a good woman, and that's how you get a good relationship. There's no balance, and you want to have a bad guy or have a bad girl and have the opposite where there's a good girl and then a good guy, and like that balance each other out. And like, oh, I just, you know, I came from a lot, you should know where I'm coming from, and you know, trying to help this person be someone else, because then it's like you should be a good person by yourself, and understanding what you do could be bad. And it's just to say, like, you know, that's just like a myth, honestly. And a lot of times women like the bad guys because actually before we end it, I just want to say there's a quote, and it says, basically, we're attracted to qualities in others that we ourselves wish we had, says sociologist and clinical sexologist Sarah Melancon, which she also has a PhD.
That sounds like a dope name.
Right? Melancon.
Megalodon.
Melancon.
Megazord.
I think I'm saying that right. But it's also say a good girl may admire the bad boy's sense of freedom. I kind of said that a little bit. So, actually, hold up.
Oh, that's crazy. It's only it's at 30 minutes now.
So we're just...
Yeah, you can finish off with saying, like, yeah, I already said that.
Yeah. So, the video cut off, which is all good, but for the people that are actually listening to us on all the podcast platforms, you guys could check it out on there if there's anything that I missed. But, you know, I'm just going to repeat it just in case. but it's just saying like we're attracted to the qualities in others that we ourselves wish we had, and that's coming from a sociologist and sexologist, Sarah Melancon, and a good girl might admire a bad boy's sense of freedom. So that's really to conclude. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think this is another part 2 to this because there's so much more that we could talk about, but we don't want to make it too long for you guys. But for the ones that really stick through the whole hour videos that we may be having, really shout out to you guys. We really appreciate you guys, and
I love you.
Remember, whatever platform you guys are on, make sure you follow us, you leave a like so that we know that we can reach out to other people. It helps us out to help other people and make them more aware of things and talk about wellness, building relationships, and then when we get down to it, wealth, because that's one of the main things in the life that we live in. So
provide sustenance.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, we're really going up the ladder, 125 on YouTube. We have a couple followers on other platforms. We're reaching a couple, you know, shows that we want to go on, have people come on the show. We're just kind of setting up as, you know, this is our setup. And if the ones that are listening, if you haven't seen the setup, go check it out on YouTube because this is pretty lit. I'm really grateful for me being here, Tyler being here, you guys being here, and we're building a community so that we can unite into things that, you know, we should be aware of. And I can't wait to keep going on this journey. And we wouldn't be here right now without you guys. And yeah, so we got a lot of things going. And now that summer's coming,
school's almost over.
I'm just gonna foreshadow and say that, you know, you guys come to the podcast, but soon we're gonna bring the podcast to the people. So stay tuned on that on YouTube. It's gonna have a couple a different segment on there, and I think it's gonna be really fun this year. And we came a long way since last year. So if there's anything else for you to say, Tyler, I think it's time for us to, you know, close this episode.
Well, I can say this: if there's one thing for sure, I'll say word of the day and word for the episode. Adaptive. Like, I think that's a trait that something that we all need, but then also being mindful for like the good guys. I mean, for the bad guys or bad girls or anybody that's creating a facade. It's for both good and bad, but mainly bad with how adaptive they are and how they have to keep on learning you and studying you. So that way, the better that they know you, is like a lion in the wild. They have to watch their prey. That's to study them, get up on their mannerisms, see how fast they move and twitch and everything like that. How aware are you? You know what I mean?
Good question.
Adaptive.
Good questions to have. Adaptive. I like that. You know, be adaptive to the situation so you don't fall into the nice guy that finished last. You want to be the nice guy that finishes.
Ding, ding.
You know, starts first, I mean. So, yeah, guys, we appreciate you guys. Until next time, y'all be easy.
And y'all be breezy.
Peace.